everyone. Welcome back to the Brick City Brown Chick Show. And this week, I want to tackle a hot topic, and that is the topic of the killing of Telvin Osbourne. He was killed last week in Georgia by his longtime girlfriend and baby mama, whose name is Hannah and who is a white woman. Now, when this story first broke, it was because of the publicity of his family who wanted Black people to help get the case publicized because his girlfriend was not arrested immediately after he was killed. The first story was he was shot in the head. The second story was he was shot in the chest. Either way, she shot him with a gun that they owned, and the first reports said that Hannah, said she had been cleaning her gun and the gun went off by accident. The police later said they have no idea where that story came from and that is not what she said, but that they were clear it was not an accidental shooting. It's very hard to accidentally shoot someone in the chest. That's a hard thing to do. So they said they had not arrested her because they were investigating. And initially, Black people on social media, especially Black women, were incredibly offended and up in arms because we all know from experience, had that been a Black woman who shot a white man, she would have immediately been put in jail. So it took several days before Hannah was arrested. And once she was arrested, she was charged with a series of things, none of which were murder. Up to now, she's either been charged with second or third degree manslaughter. And in every state, manslaughter means something different. Some states have degrees of manslaughter, like Georgia clearly does, and some don't. But the difference between murder and manslaughter in basic terms is manslaughter means you did something accidentally. Like, let's say you were playing with a gun and it accidentally went off and shot your friend and killed them. That's manslaughter. There was no intent behind it. It happened. And you have to take responsibility, but that's not what you intended to happen. Murder means you intended to kill someone, whether you thought about it for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 years. You intended to do it. That's the difference between murder and manslaughter. So it sounds like the police are still coming down on the side of, oh, she didn't really mean to do it, it just kind of happened. Now, like with all cases, there are levels and complexities. One of the complexities is Hannah's father is a retired sheriff or retired police officer. So people think the sheriff's department wanted to sweep this under the rug. A lot of people still feel like she is going to get off, be set free, regardless of the charges. We don't know anything about how this is going to play out. But initially, Black people went to bat for this family and said, hey, this man is dead. He had mother, brothers, sisters, children, specifically with Hannah. He deserves justice. So that was the initial feeling about the situation. And then the internet does what it does, and his digital footprint was released. Now, digital footprint simply means text, tweets, things he had released and said in the past on his timeline on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, on whatever else he was on. And that began to turn the tide, particularly for Black women, in terms of how they felt about this man's death. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about the things he said because they were pretty disgusting. But the one comment he made specifically about Black women, because he had a total hair up his butt about how much he hated us in particular, he said he would rather sleep with a dog before he would let a Black woman touch him, and it had better be a white dog. And this sent what we like to call Black Twitter into hysterics. Black women were like, oh, absolutely not. Like, we are sorry that your loved one is dead, family, but your loved one was a piece of crap who felt the need to belittle and degrade Black women simply because he was in a relationship with a white woman. And a lot of the comments I have seen have ended with RIP, which in most cases means rest in peace. But what people have been saying about Telvin Osbourne is rest in preference, because white women were his preference. And so white women should be the ones to take up the mantle to cry out for justice over his death. Because for Black women, that is not going to be a thing we do. Now, since this has happened, Hannah has been arrested, as I said earlier. His family has continued to make pleas for people to publicize this case. I think it has gotten way more publicity since the digital footprint came out and people are expressing how they feel than before. And it likely has gotten more attention than it would have normally. This case has blown up and become huge. What I want to talk about today is the perspective of a woman who has been in an interracial relationship for 30 years now. And by that, I mean myself. My husband and I have been married 25 and a half years. My husband is Italian, along with being Canadian and Scottish and a bunch of other things, like most of us are. Most of us are not purely one thing or the other, whether we're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, that part doesn't matter. Most people are mixed with other nationalities. It would never, and I mean never, occur to me to ever say any combination of the following. I have a white king, or I married above my station, or hashtag white men, or Black men are terrible, or Black men are losers. No combination of any of that would ever occur to me, never mind come out of my mouth. It is insane to me how some Black men decide that they want white women, they want to date them or marry them or whatever, and suddenly that means they no longer have to identify as a Black man, that they've been accepted and embraced into whiteness and to hell where they came from. Anyone who knows me will tell you I am a proud Black woman. Point blank, period. There has never been any question about who I am and what side I'm on. Somehow, over the years, Black men have interpreted Black women choosing to date and marry people outside our race as disloyal, or our not honoring our Black men, or our not thinking our Black men are good enough. The reality is, Black men have chosen white women far longer than Black women have chosen white or Hispanic or other types of men. This is not a new phenomenon for Black women. What is new for Black men is that we are choosing to settle down and tie our lives to men who love us, be they Black or otherwise. And it's always interesting to me hearing Black men's reaction to Black women making choices for our happiness. Because according to Black men, that's what they've always done. They make choices based on who makes them happiest. I have heard a lot of Black men say that Black women are, fill in the stereotype blank, too loud, too angry, too ghetto, want to be in charge, want to run the show. And that's not what they get with white women. The phrase I've heard is, white women bring them peace. Okay, as a Black woman, I have no problem with that. If you think I'm loud, angry, ghetto, whatever you think of me, I really don't give a damn, because I don't. I've long since stopped caring what other people, especially people I don't know, think of me. I really don't care. But the second thing is, be happy with your preference. It's 2025. Nobody cares. But when you go on the internet and shout from the rooftops about how much you hate Black women, especially since you have a Black mother and Black sisters, people are going to come for you. Or in this case, people are going to decide they don't give a damn that you met your maker at the hands of this woman that you put on a pedestal. It is very confounding to me that you can come from a Black woman and still want to badmouth and treat Black women so badly and so disrespectfully. It makes me question, what happened to you? What happened in your life that you developed such a disdain and hatred for women who look like the woman you came from? I have never had any disdain for Black men. Just because I married a white man does not mean I have ever forgotten who or where I came from. I had a Black father. He died when I was 17 years old. He and my mother were married for 29 years before he died. He was a loving, honest, good, supportive man. And that is also the description of the man I married. My father and my husband have so many traits in common. Sometimes it's a little creepy, honestly, because these are two men who never met each other, never had a conversation. But I gravitated toward my husband because he possessed the qualities of a man I knew I could count on. And when you partner up with someone, when you marry someone, that comes before anything else, before love, before communication, before anything. Can I trust this person? Do I know that when the chips are down, they will have my back? And I know that unequivocally. If I call my husband, he will be right there. And that's the key to any relationship, interracial or not. So, what I want to say to wrap this up is Black men, if you're in a relationship with a white woman or Hispanic woman or an Asian woman, fill in the blank, and you're happy in that relationship, great. Good for you. I'm happy for you. But that doesn't mean you need to badmouth your sisters or your friends or your ancestors, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother. The line of women you came from does not have to be besmirched just because you found happiness with someone else. And that's my take for this week. I want to thank everybody for joining me. If you are not subscribed to the podcast, please do so. There's a subscribe button somewhere right underneath me at this moment. Please subscribe and join me again next week. Thanks, everybody. Take care.